An instrument of peace. I have listened to people struggle as to what is their purpose in life. And I want you to know you've been living it all along. It's what brought you here. An instrument of peace. An instrument of love. Being the best you can be. And being motivated by that. I'll tell you, there is nothing that gets me through tough times more than remembering the source of who I am. The purpose that brought me into being, which is simply to evolve and to love and to share, to awaken my consciousness. Right? Awakening consciousness through spiritual community is our purpose. It is our reason for being. And your individual, in case you are wondering, your individual purpose is to awaken your consciousness. The side effects of which, because everything has side effects, are being more loving, more kind, more compassionate. Everybody I've ever met who is in the process of awakening has noticed that about themselves, and luckily, others have noticed it about them too. My wife continues to tell me how much kinder I am, how much more fun I am to be in relationship with than I used to be. Right? This is what's possible when we remember our purpose and we use it as a motivator for how we get through our day. I had a very challenging week. Not as challenging as some, but it was a pretty challenging week. It started out Monday. I had 5 projects to get done this week. And I started on the first one about 8:30 in the morning. And kept running into whatever came up that was not allowing me to get very far on that project. And because I practiced something called Wu Wei, which is not forcing, and because I had 4 other projects anyway, I moved on to the next project. Started working on that. Ran into technical difficulties with that one. Moved on to the 3rd project. We're now about midday. Couldn't make any headway with that one either. After several hours of going at it, it is now getting close to dinner time, and I'm on my 4th project, having gotten nothing done. Have you had one of those days? Whew. I kept at it because I'm a relentless kind of guy, and now we're getting close to 9 p.m. and I'm not getting anything done on that one either. So I moved on to the 5th one because I didn't want to finish the day without getting anything done. So around 11 p.m. I noticed I didn't get anything done. What a day! So I come to bed and my wife goes, "Oh, you're a little tweaked." I didn't handle it perfectly. But the other side of the coin is which she pointed out, was that, 5, 10 years ago, how I would have come to bed would have been the grumpy pants. And I wasn't like that. And I think the difference is that I am so in love with each of my days. I'm so enjoying life itself that when I run into a day like that, it doesn't hit me the same. It doesn't floor me. It doesn't take me out. Do you know what I mean? I'm able to be in there with it and go, okay, the day went like that. It was a gorgeous day. I did take a little time in there to go out in the sun and, get a little walk, because I would hate to lose a gorgeous day. It's not like there are millions of them here in Edmonton. Yeah, right? It's perspective. What do you call a gorgeous day? There's a way in which when we remember, right? Because that's what we're always dealing with all the time, is simply remembering in the face of what our doing, what it is our true purpose is. Because we can get lost in the doing really easily. And if you get lost in the doing, then you can get frustrated, and then things can feel really not so great. But in the doing, if you remember your being, your true purpose, which is not your doing. I hear a lot of people go, I've got to find my purpose, what I'm supposed to do here. Right? I'm here to tell you that your purpose is not to do, it's to be. I have heard lots of you tell me about the presence of my wife, that simply her presence, what it brings to the room. That is her being. She shows up that way, and you can feel it, and it makes a difference. We make a difference when we are in our being. And I find it motivates me to remember what it is I love about being alive. Like, one of the things I love is spending time with my wife. Who wouldn't? Right? And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie As Good as It Gets, but it has one of my favorite lines in that movie. Jack Nicholson is sitting across from Helen Hunt, and she's like, you better say something nice to me. And he goes, you make me want to be a better man. That's motivating. And I have found that being with her makes me want to be a better man, but also being with you. I mean, every week I'm thinking, I need to keep evolving for you. Not for me too. I like it when I'm evolving. But I also do it because of how much I love you. I love being able to get up here and go, this is how I evolved this week. This is what I did this week. You know, that we can all be inspired in rising, in remembering who we are being. You take that into your doing, and the doing shifts. It changes dramatically. One of the projects I was working on this week had to do with finding a communication software platform for our center. As you can see, we're growing. For anybody who's been around here a while, this is quite something. And so we have more and more teams, more and more people who support this place, and we're looking for a way to communicate with everyone here. And so I've been working on finding us that platform. I took that job on myself, and I'd been working on that all week. And it was a rough job to find something that was suitable for our organization and how we work. I found something, and I presented it on Thursday to a group of your leaders here. And the best part about that meeting was they liked the platform. It turns out more research, and we're probably not going to use that one. That's another story for another day. But the best part of that meeting was that afterwards, everybody in it was sharing how great the meeting was, how much they felt the love from each other, how much the communication was clear and evolved and raised up. It was incredible how people felt about each other. And that's what's possible when what we bring to a meeting like that is who we are being, not what we are doing. And the doing happened. But what we were all feeling at the end, the feedback that almost everybody in the room was sharing, everybody in the room in that meeting was sharing, was how we were being with each other and how brilliant that was. That's what you get to bring to your life. That's what happens is all of a sudden you're sitting around with people maybe you've been sitting around before, and maybe in the past there's been some arguments and some this and that, and then all of a sudden you're sitting with the same people, but it feels different because you showed up differently. I hear people talking a lot about it takes two to tango. Wait, if I'm in relationship with somebody, they have to change too. And I'm here to say no. One person changes in a relationship, the relationship changes. It's different already. But if you keep waiting for the other person to do that change, you never get to experience what it really feels like if it was you who took that first step. And that creates shifts that are unbelievable. That creates shifts that allows us to be more than who we were even moments earlier. That creates shifts that has a meeting like happens on Thursday, where after the meeting, everybody is in awe over how everybody was with each other. I mean, that's great stuff. That's the kind of stuff I want to be around all the time. I want that everywhere in my life. I want you to have that everywhere in your life, because that's the killer stuff. Loving on this community. I love loving on this community. I love the way I watch others love on this community. I want everybody who volunteers here for anything to stand, please. Look around you. These are the people who love on this community. Please give them a round of applause. This is how a community, thank you. This is how a community grows and gets loved on. This is how a community gets to feel when they walk in the door that something wonderful is happening here when so many of you, did you see how many stood up? I mean, that's love. That's purpose. Your purpose is in your being. You take it to your job, you take it to your relationships at home, to your friends and family, and you take it here. Expression of the divine. That's how it shows up. And that's why when people walk through the door, you hear all the time. I mean, how many of you have heard somebody walk through the door for the first time and go, wow, the energy here. It's just so high. It just feels so good. Am I the only one that's heard that from somebody? Yeah, that's what's possible. That's what our vision here is, a loving, thriving, transformational world. And by creating a loving, thriving, transformational community, we are feeding the world. Yes, it's good that we go out and do work in the world as well. I'm not saying not to. I'm just saying don't discount the power of what happens here. Don't discount the power that we experience right here in its impact on the world, because this is where it begins. Well, it begins in you, inside each of us, remembering that our true purpose is an instrument of peace, an instrument of love, of light, an instrument of expressing the divine in each and every moment with kindness, compassion. Hard to do, you know? We get so caught in our doing. But when we come together to remind ourselves, we then get to have that to take out into our day. I look around this room and I am just so moved that all you showed up, that we show up together to do this, to stand, because it is a stand, right? I mean, I talk about this all the time. It takes courage to stand in a place of responsibility. Mark was up here saying, the accountability of it. Well, that's not so easy to do. To really, see how to be so deeply in ourselves and in, that divine place in ourselves, so that we can recognize that our own transformation is exactly what the world needs. We can go out and do, but if we're doing it in the same place of being angry about, if you're angry about what's going on in Gaza, if you're angry about what's going on in the Ukraine, then what are you bringing to that? Who are you being in that? Is that bringing peace to that if you're angry about it? What we can do is find that place of peace in ourselves, that deep place of knowing that life is absolutely evolving. Our lives, everyone's lives. We get impatient because we live such a short time. We want to see that change now. We want a legacy. Well, I'm here to remind you of something I say up here often, which is that spiritual maturity is the ability to plant the shade of that tree. We are here to plant seeds, not to push for the result, because that pushing is not evolving. Wu Wei, not forcing. We all have weeks where things don't go along so smoothly. Or maybe I'm the only one that happens to. How are we going to be with that? Because the ebbs and flows of life, man. This is what goes on in our lives, in the lives of the world. We see peace come to this one place on the planet, and it isn't long before then there's war over here, and we're frustrated. Oh my God, how could this be happening again? And then all of a sudden we're not being that instrument of peace, purpose, expression, how we express the divine within each of us. How that expression comes out of the being of our hearts. Of our hearts. I spend so much time these days in gratitude about being here, jumping up and down, laughing about the beauty. With everything that goes on in the world, there's still so much beauty. And if we take the time to notice, it's incredibly gorgeous. If we take the time to slow down in the midst of when we think we should be rushing, can you do that? Can you slow down when it looks like the moment you need to push and rush? And remember that being that you actually are. I've heard people say to me, young people in particular, oh, you're talking about what people, you're talking old people stuff. And I'm here to tell you that if you can take it in as a young person, or as an old person, or wherever you are in life, that slowing down actually is more effective, actually creates better results, that the better results you get is from standing in that power and presence of who you are. I am sure you have experienced spinning your wheels or going and rushing at something, and because you rushed, you had to do it again anyway. What we're talking about here, what I'm talking about here, is when we slow down and take the time, especially when we think we need to rush, to go, who am I being now? Am I being that instrument of peace? Am I being that love, that light? Am I being that compassionate, kind being? Not just to others, but to yourself, right? You don't want to leave yourself out of that kindness and compassion. I highly recommend pointing it back at yourself instead of just out there. That's the place of effective, powerful, positive change, not only for you, but for the world. A loving, thriving, transformational world occurs through awakening consciousness, through spiritual community. They work together so well, and that's what we're about here. For love of our community, for love of our world. The more you can love on the world, the more you can love on community, the more you are feeding that which we want to create. Can you see that? Let's do that together. Let's be that in the world. Thank you. I love you very much.